Good morning. Good morning, Arise Vineyard family. How you guys doing today? Enjoying the weather around here lately? It's not too bad, huh? It's not Colorado, but when I think about being in California again and missing another winter, it doesn't bother me at all to be here, believe me. Hey, a couple things before I begin. First, thank you for the privilege that you've given us for Becky and I to serve you in this past year. We're really grateful for that. And we now have 14 small groups, and we've launched 6 new groups out of our Created to Dream. And things are really coming together around here. But I wanted to mention something. For those of you that, if you're not in one of those groups and you'd like to go through it yourself, that you can grab one of these study guides, and it leads you to a video that you can play. You can do it as a family. You can do it individual. And even though we're like at week 3 right now, that you can catch up, but we ordered some extra ones of these. So if you'd like to go through this as a family or friends or whatever, and you're not in a small group, you weren't able to do it this time around, this is a great way to stay connected to the larger picture of what's going on around here. And I really believe this is our season to dream. And sometimes life sucks the dreams right out of you. And it's just hard to believe in much and ask for much, and we kind of give up. We give up on ourselves and we give up on God, and unfortunately, we do that way too often. So our first week, I talked about the fact that faith and dreams go together. They're not separate. That if we're going to see the dreams that we have and the things that we're asking God for, that it's not going to happen if we don't exert faith, if we don't declare the faith that we have. Last week, I talked about the fact that we need to ask. We need to not only ask God, but we need to let others know what we're asking for so people can come alongside of us. And sometimes we're hoping for better things and we're wishing for better things, but we don't specifically ask God for what we want. And I don't know why that is. We don't need to be afraid to do that. So God wants us to ask. Now, sometimes when we ask God for things, if you figured this one out, sometimes we don't seem to get an answer right away. Have you ever been there? And so today, we've talked about faith and dreams go together and how we need to ask and make our requests known to God and to others. Today, I want to talk about a faith that waits. A faith that waits, So faith that waits, waiting. How many of you are really good at waiting? I'm sorry, but I'm not sure I believe you. But it's great that somebody in here is really good at waiting, but the rest of you are being very, very honest. So if I'm going to talk about waiting, I got to acknowledge, first of all, I am really bad. I got that ADD thing working with me. I don't know all the things, but I may be the very worst at all this. But frankly, we don't love to wait. And how many of you, let me ask you some questions, just so we can see if we are on the same page. How many of you, when you go to a grocery store or anywhere, that you look for the shortest line? Really? How many of you are frustrated when your line goes slower than the other after you count them? Becky was telling me yesterday, she was at Costco, and there was long lines, and and I was inside getting stuff, and she was outside, and there was 2 lines, and the line that she was in stayed here, and the other line went like this. And it just frustrated, and if her first reaction is that was horrible out here. It took 20 minutes. It's like, go to a fast food, and it's like we expect it right now because we get frustrated when things take too long. When somebody gets ahead of you in traffic. How many when you're on the freeway? You're looking for that fast lane. You're in and out. Anybody do that? We don't like to wait on anything. It's in the culture. We do not have a waiting culture. We're raised in it. I want it now. That's what kids say. I want it now. I want what I want. I want it now. Or if you're in the car with kids, are we there yet, Daddy? Are we there yet? No, not. Well, are we there? When are we going to get there? That kind of thing. I think we also live in a microwave world, and that everything is instant. Another confession, it's like, how many of you use your microwave more than your oven? That's all? Well, I use my microwave like almost totally, but it's still not fast enough. The other day, it's like I was looking for something to eat. I was, here, in the building a long time, and I went home, and I wanted to cook something, and it said 6 minutes. It's like 6 minutes? I need a 2-minute. I need a 2-minute. I need to throw a hot dog or, a sausage in there, and I can get it done in a minute and a half. And I just thought, what is wrong with me in this? There's so many things that taste our patience, being on the freeway, market lines. How about doctor's offices? How many of you love those long hour waits to get to see the doctor? I went in for some eye surgery in town here, and the room is full of people, packed. And then I found out there's another waiting room after you get past that waiting room. And people were saying that they were waiting for like over an hour. And I said, over what? And somebody said, no, it's been 2 hours. And it's like, I want to go home. I want to change my appointment. I can't wait. And somebody actually piped up and said, you wait when you're seeing the best. It's like, yeah, right, okay. But the truth is we have to wait. And we hate to wait. When you're hungry, doesn't it even get more? It's like, I gotta have what I want. Fast food or slow food. Let me tell you one last story. So in Fort Collins, Becky and I had our favorite restaurant. It was a submarine called Yellow Sub. And it was like the best of the best. And we would go there, each week. And I got to know the owner. He actually started coming to church, and it was quite I'm just going to tell you, this guy was quite the guy. He was from the East Coast, a total unchurched guy. And he came to church once because he heard that we gave an offering to the poor, our entire offering away. And so he came. And then in front of the whole, I can't believe I'm going to say this, in front of the whole group in the restaurant, he says, hey, Reverend. Reverend, nobody calls me Reverend. Don't call me Reverend, please. He calls me Reverend. That was an effing good sermon you had Sunday. I said, what? I said, that was an effing good thing you did. It's like, really? Well, thank you. And it was at that same, I'm glad Becky's not in here. She said, what are you doing, Rick? But that wasn't in my notes. What is in my notes is he put up a sign that said, if you get your meal before 20 minutes, it will be a miracle. He just let people know the truth. He says, if you're looking for something fast, you're in the wrong place. And he had literally put a sign. It's like, really? And he wasn't kidding. It does take a long time. But he let people know, if you want what we're serving here, you're going to have to wait for it in that. So here's the turn. We also struggle to wait on God for his answers. Nothing right away. We assume it's no. We don't understand that wait means not now. It might mean later. But when we don't get that answer, when we don't get that breakthrough that we're asking God for, that we immediately assume that it's a no, or we can't wait for God's timing. Like I said, 2 weeks ago, we talked about the dreaming and the faith and the asking. But learning to wait is one of the most difficult things to learn in life, I think. Learning to wait for anything, but to wait for God is a lesson to be learned. And I want to talk about a faith today that patiently waits. And waiting with expectations of God's breakthrough, of God's coming through, and all of that. There's a passage in James chapter 5, verse 7 through 11, where he talks about times that are waiting patiently being an act of faith. So James, as only James can tell it, dear brothers and sisters, be patient as you wait for the Lord's return. Because life was really miserable. They were oppressed. They were persecuted. It was a horrible situation for believers. Consider the farmers who patiently wait for the rains in the fall and in the spring. They eagerly look for the valuable harvest to ripen. You too must be patient. Take courage, for the coming of the Lord is near. But then he said, don't grumble about each other, brothers and sisters, or you will be judged. For look, the judge is standing at the door. And that grumbling against each other, why is this happening? Why is that happening? What's going on here? In verse 10, he says, for examples of patience and suffering, dear brothers and sisters, look at the prophets who spoke in the name of the Lord. We give great honor to those who endure under suffering. For instance, you know about Job, a man of great endurance. You can see how the Lord was kind to him at the end. For the Lord is full of tenderness and mercy. James in this passage gives us 3 examples of patient, expectant waiting. The farmers, prophets, and Job. So he talks about the farmers first, and I love when the Bible's so practical, and it is, by the way, that any farmers in here? Anybody know farm? You got a couple farmers, all right. So I'm not one, so I don't know this much, but I plant things in my garden, maybe that counts. But farming requires a lot of patience. If you don't have patience, you can't be a farmer. There's no such thing as an overnight crop. You till and you plant and you weed and you prune and you water and you wait and you wait and you wait and you wait, and eventually you get a harvest out of that. But more than that, farmers understand something. They understand the uncontrollable factors. And sometimes we don't understand that because we want to control everything going on in our life. And it's a myth if you think you control anything. I don't control anything. Even when I think I do, or if I try to, the fact is we don't control anything. Farmers can't control the weather. They can't control the economy. They can't control labor prices. And all that takes is a step of faith. I'm planting it. I'm putting it in the ground, and I'm waiting, but I'm waiting with expectation that a crop's going to come out of it. I don't know exactly when and how, but it's going to happen, but I'm going to do everything I can on my side of things to see that it can grow. But most of life is beyond our control. Then he talks about the prophets. These are prophets in the Old Testament. They prophesied of so many different things, and God's going to do this, and Israel's going to experience this, and so much of it didn't happen in their lifetime. But it did happen later on. But they were standing almost like naked. It's like, you're saying all these things. Yeah, right. Where's your God? But the timing of the Lord wasn't yet. They spoke at one moment, but the fulfillment of that was for another time. You know, even the children of Israel, when they were in bondage in Egypt, they were, for 40 years under slavery. A whole generation passes. And then he gave the big one. And remember Job. Remember Job. How many remember Job? By the way, it's the oldest book in the Bible. It was the first book ever written. Job was a godly man. He feared God. He loved God. He served God. And yet he literally lost everything in a day. It's amazing. When things go wrong, we always think, what did I do wrong? Where did I mess up? What did I miss? And Job hadn't missed anything. And he didn't understand what's going on. It's like, why me? It's like there was no reason, there was nothing for him to grab onto that would warrant all the bad things that were happening to him. There's no explanation because it was a test. Because Satan went to God and he said, your man Job, the only reason he's serving you is because he's got it good. Because you blessed him and you protect him and you watch over him. But you take your hand off him and let me have Adam, he'll curse you to your face. And basically the Lord says, well, take your best shot because it's not going to happen because I know who Job is. And it's like God said, you don't know Job. And he allowed Satan to take all the things that were good in his life. And Job continued to trust and serve God in the midst of everything. And he lost everything. If you want to feel sorry for yourself, read the book of Job. You'll feel a lot better. You'll feel a lot better. He lost his family, his friends, finances, health. His children were murdered. He went bankrupt. He had a painful, incurable disease. He hit the bottom. It's over. End of the story, right? But it wasn't the end of the story, and I'm going to talk about that in a moment. Sometimes we hit the wall. Things have happened at such a degree we can't see the way on. And then we get completely discouraged. The only thing that was left for Job was his wife, who said, why don't you just curse God and die? How about that one? When you're at your lowest point, your wife says, man, Job, I don't know what you've done. I don't know what's going on, but why don't you just curse God and be done? It's like, well, thank you, and die. It's like, oh my gosh, that's actually in the Bible. Well, I'm not sure that's a great support system. But the worst part for Job, there's no way to explain it. And his friends were tormenting him. What have you done wrong? What have you done wrong? What have you done wrong? And they're just chiding him. All the bad things that have happened. There must be something wrong. 37 chapters. And God says nothing to Job. We don't know how long it is. God says nothing to Job for 37 chapters. He's silent. But in that silence, Job persevered. That's powerful. He hung in there. He refused to give up, although he had nothing. When he got down to nothing, he says, I'm not going to curse God. I'm going to continue to serve God. I'm going to continue to worship my God. And one of the ultimate examples of faith that I've ever seen in the Bible is this right here. And we have it on the screen. Though he slay me, yet will I trust him. Wow. Come on now. I just told you everything that's happened. Every right to curse God. And he gets down to the end and said, even if you take my life and that's all that's left, I will praise you. I will trust him. And that's a powerful thing of the reality of Jesus Christ in the life of his followers. And one of the things that bringing this to where we live is, what do we do when we're waiting on God? How does that work? How does that work? First of all, we need to establish one thing. And Job had it, even though it looked like everything was out of control. By the way, God restored everything to Job and more. Gave him what he lost and even more. God was faithful to him even in his lifetime. But God is in control. Can you say that out loud with me? God is in, one more time like you mean it. God is in control. Is that easier to say than to believe? Excuse me, my Siri just told me to unlock my iPhone. No, Siri. You're not sorry, Siri. I can't, sorry. If it's God, I'll take it, but nobody else interrupts the message. Okay, keeping it. God is in control. Even when you don't see it or feel it or recognize it and seem like everything's going south, God is not left the scene. You know, we don't know what's happening in the world. We don't know how, we went through the coronavirus. That was a horrible thing. It's like, how long is this going to last? How long do we wear masks? When can we get back to normal? It's like, it seemed like it was forever. But we're past that. We're on the other side of it. But when you're in it, then you're in it. History is God's story. Everything is on schedule. Some of you are going to have a hard time with this. It's on his schedule, not yours. Everything is on God's schedule. God has a plan, and God has a purpose, and he'll work it out in his time, in his way. Now, I'm not excited about that fact because I want it on my time, in my way. God, I'm glad you have a purpose, and I don't understand it, but I need this, and this, and I need it right here and now. That kind of thing. James is telling us here that God's timing is perfect. That God actually knows what he's doing. And he's never late. And he's still in control. The ultimate certainty that James brings up is that Jesus is going to come back one day and make it right. The Bible talks more about the second coming of Jesus than the first. And that was a hope that the early church had, that is no matter what happens in this life, that Christ is going to come again. Or one day they're going to be in heaven. If you read the book of Revelation, that what we suffer and what we struggle with here isn't an everlasting thing. It's going to be exactly on time. The second thing that I think to remember, by the way, the control is letting go of control, that this is not the end of the story. I mentioned it a little bit last week. When you hit the wall, when things get as bad as you can think that they could get, it's not the end of the story. Even if you think it is, it doesn't mean that it is. So we know how God fulfilled his purpose with Job. We're at the end of the story, so we can see, but Job couldn't see it. We read back and we can see how God's faithful. God took him from here and was in control of the whole thing, but he was in it. He couldn't see it. Sometimes we need people around us that can see it. So we know that his plan for Job ended good at the end. Jeremiah 29:11 says, I know what I'm planning for you. I know what I'm planning for you, says the Lord. I have good plans for you, not to hurt you. I'll give you a hope, and I'll give you a good future. And I hold on to that one because I don't understand, but you said you got a plan for my life and you've given me a future. And sometimes everything around me thinks it's all crashing down. A guy named Philip Brooks was a famous pastor of 100 years ago, and he was pacing around in his study. And he was frustrating his wife, by the way. What's wrong, he said, because I'm in a hurry and God isn't. That was his complaint. I'm in a hurry and God isn't in a hurry. You ever been in that place? Somebody said the most difficult room to sit in is God's waiting room when you're in a hurry and God isn't. Think of all the waiting rooms that you've been in. When you're in that waiting room and you're in a hurry and God isn't. Psalm 130, verse 5 says, I wait expectantly, trusting God to help, for he's promised to help. It's not, I'm just going to wait, and I don't know. It's not poor me. It's just, God, I'm waiting expectantly. I don't know how you're going to come through, but I trust in you. And so we need to wait expectantly and continue to prepare, like the farmer does. You plant and you water, you do what you have to do, and you keep moving forward. I like what Micah 7:7 says, I'll wait confidently for the Lord. I'll wait confident. Not my confidence. God, I'm just confident. I don't know how you're going to do it, how you're going to pull me through this, what you're going to do, but I'm confident in you, God. I'm confident in you. And how do we express that confidence sometimes? Here's a big one in my life, because, I don't know how much ADD I got, but I've always had a problem with being still, sitting still. But we express our confidence in by being still. Not getting busier and busier and trying harder and harder. And it's counterintuitive when things are happening to back up and be still. And yet Psalm 46:10 says one of the most profound statements that you're ever going to read. And it's this: be still and know that I'm God. Be still. Ricky, don't get anxious. Don't try to be still and know that I'm God. It's wait on me. It's a secret with me, still in me. And it's hard to do that when things are rattling in your life. Am I right? Anybody else besides me struggle with that? I got my own struggles I wrestle with and wrestling with now. It's like God, you got to settle me. And it seems like a contradiction. How can we be still and then take action at the same time? But they go together. That you can be still and wait for God, but you can take the steps that you can take in the place that you are. But sometimes you just got to pull away. Someone put it like this: be still, stop, show up, and shut up. That's what it means in the Greek for that. Be still, stop, show up, and shut up. Just be still. It's like, you're talking to me? It's like, that's a powerful thing. Sometimes we need to shut up. And we need to just be still and settle ourselves. God, I'm just going to come before you. And maybe not even ask for anything or answers. Maybe it's just, God, I need you. Isaiah 40:31 says, those who wait on the Lord. Famous verse. Don't pass it on. No. Those who wait on the Lord. Those who choose and wait on the Lord will find new strength. That strength that they don't have. Hello? They find strength that didn't exist, but when you wait on the Lord, you get strength in the waiting, in the moment that you don't have. They'll fly high on wings like eagles, and they'll run and not grow weary. And they'll walk, and they're not going to faint. See, waiting on the Lord is our strength, because it's his strength you and I make it. It's in his strength that his purposes are fulfilled in your life and in my life. It's in his strength we are protected and watched over by him. But it's believing that he has a plan for our life. And I don't know how you're going to do it, God, but it's believing that he will come through. And some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. You've had to wait for a breakthrough in your life, in your business, something going on, and then it comes. And then you have that moment, and you realize that God has been active all the time. But my friends, we got to just let go of trying to control everything. Some of us are natural control freaks, that we want to control life, money, people, everything. And it's like, what are we doing? What are we doing? It doesn't work. So a question I have for you is, what do you need patience for today? What are you waiting on that you need that patience, that patient waiting for God? Maybe there's an uncontrollable circumstance in your life, and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that your life is out of control, yours. Maybe a good thing. Maybe a needed thing. Maybe you feel like Job's twin. Why me, God? Why me, God? And it's again, remembering that God is in control and he's working behind the scenes. And again, I want to say this because my whole life has been this. And this is not the end of the story. What feels like the end could actually be the beginning. Wait for it. Don't give up on God. Don't give up on you. Don't give up on the reality of the dreams, the desires, the sense that you have of something. I wrote something down that I feel like God put on my heart for us to close with. And a question is, so where is God when you're hurt? I mean, when you're really hurt, when life isn't fair. Anybody figured out that life isn't fair? Life wasn't fair when Jesus was on the cross. He understands injustice. He was put on the cross and it was totally unfair. But he did what was necessary, what was needed for you and for me. And it's not easy facing life when it's unfair, what's come down the pike to you and to me. And you know, in Jesus' day, like ours, pain drove them to Jesus. Pain drove people to Jesus. They didn't just come to Jesus because he had good things to say. People were in pain. They were desperate. And they heard there was a healer in town, Jesus. And as they came and God touched them, they also heard the message of the kingdom. A picture that I've had that may be helpful to some of you. Sometimes we feel like we're in that dark tunnel. Ever felt like that, or in a dark valley and you can't see the other side? You can't see your way to the other side. And the picture that I used to have people say, and pastors teach, that, just God's at the other side of the tunnel rooting you on. Come on, Rick, you can do it. Come on, you can make it. And I believed that for a long time. Okay, God, I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going. But there's a reality check. God is not at the other end of the tunnel or valley waiting for you to buck up and get there. He joins you in the tunnel, in the dark valley, to walk with you to the other side. That's reality. That's our reality. And that's why we make it. It's not, oh, good, I'm proud of you, Rick, way to go. Because God knows I can't get there on my own. You can't get there on your own. You can't get through this on your own. We sang earlier, I'm no longer a slave to fear. And we got to stop letting fear decide anything for us. Whether you like it or not, fear dominates our lives too much. But what can happen? What can happen? I don't know. It's like fear needs to go. Let's stand. I love this, Psalm 34:18. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Isaiah 49 says, those who hope in me will not be disappointed. It's hard to wait on the Lord when you're in pain. Hello? When you're in the struggle, when you don't know what to do, when things are just upside down and you don't know what to do and you don't understand in that moment. And I felt like the Lord spoke to me that that we need to acknowledge that. Some of you right now in this room, it might be pain of a broken relationship, a divorce, a bankruptcy, somebody died. There's just some pain, and it's hard for you to wait on God and patiently wait because of what's happened in your life. And then there's the ultimate thing. What do we do? Sometimes you don't do anything. You don't do anything. You just say, God, I trust you. That's what Job did. I don't understand. I don't get it. I'm feeling sorry for myself. I don't know how to. I'm in pain. I hurt. But God, I choose to trust you. I choose to trust you, God. There's a song I asked Katie to play for us at the end. A song that's meant a lot to me, and it means a lot to me right now with some of the things I'm going through. And I want to just read a couple lines, and then Katie's going to lead us in this. I had a prayer written out for us to respond to, and last night I erased it because I think this song is our prayer. Maybe not for all of you, but maybe for all of us one time. But some of you are in it right now. And here's just a part of the song. Yet will I trust you. What do you do when you're a Job or something's happened and you're in the fire, in the tunnel, in the dark valley? It says, I will praise you, Lord my God, even in my brokenness and desperation. I will praise you, Lord. I can't understand all that you allow. I just can't see the reason. But my life is in your hands. And though I cannot see, I choose to trust you. Even when I feel deserted, I will praise you, Lord. Even in the darkest valley, I will praise you, Lord. When my world is shattered and it seems all hope is gone, yet I will praise you, Lord. I'm not sure exactly how to handle this, but I'd like to ask you a question. We've been pretty transparent. I've been transparent with you. How many of you are in that place of pain in your life right now where that's the place that you are when it's hard, you're waiting, but you're in a hard place in your life? And I'm not going to ask you to come up front this time, but I'd like you to raise your hand and leave them up. Leave them up high, not up. Okay, how many over here? Now, I want you guys to look around. There's somebody with a hand up, and I want you to come alongside of them. Leave your hand up until somebody comes alongside of you. We're the church, guys. That's what we're doing right now. Look for a hand right over here, right there. A couple people up front. We got to spread out. Come on, be the church. Come on. I want you to put your hand on their shoulder. There's a hand way in the back, to my left, way in the back. A gal in the back. Go with her. Nobody stands alone. Just put a hand on their shoulder if you would. Are we connected yet? Spirit of the living God, would you come and fill this room with your spirit even more than you are right now, God? Would you come, Lord? Would you come? Some of us are really hurting and really broken, Lord, and it's hard to wait when you're in pain, God. It's hard to trust when we're in pain, but one thing we can do is we can praise you, God. And I believe this song, my friends, that those of you raised your hand, and maybe for all of us, it's your prayer. It's your prayer of deliverance and freedom. And as Katie leads us in it, I want to encourage you to make it your prayer to God. Okay? Make it your prayer to God. The word's going to be on the screen. Katie? Come, Lord. Come, Lord.